All right, Kevin, this is for Thursday, April 10th. I think I'll go into the spread here real quick. I have a channel top here tomorrow at 3.40, but honestly, I think it really needs to get above these former structures here. 3.525 for this thing to not look good anymore. And until then, the next 2 to 3 weeks should yield that 185. But if we settle above 3.525, that pivots the market north. You'd have two buy signals, one above this formation at 3.40, and then, of course, above 3.525 that should yield. I've got stuff that I'll begin charting again, but it's all, well, I'll tell you right now. I'll show you right now. This would be the first stop, 4.325. High settlement is 4.50, so that area. And then ultimately, we could actually see if this thing really took off. This formation here at 5, now at 5.150, rising daily. All right. I'll just leave these alone. Let's jump into the Canadian dollar. We got a bit of a rally today and they backed off. We did get up to that 27.5 level. The high was 27.5. The high settlement back here on the 1st of April was 27.5. So I would love to see a settlement tomorrow. That is, Thursday above 27.5. That will help things. Until then, we keep testing this 1/3 speed line, which today is at 99, 98.8. And this trend line, you've got stuff here, kind of a range that begins at 74.75 and ends at 74.65. And that is the area that if broke below would essentially not only disqualify this buy signal we're in the midst of, but turn the market south. So until then, though, 74.99 support, and still allowing. Hold on a second. Weekly chart, there it is, up here, the upper 76 handle. You've got little stuff on the way up. This is next week's resistance, 75.94. That would be great, but really, what is this high? 76.60 essentially. Yeah, so double top territory basically. This is the zone in which I say we'd liquidate that call. Let's continue on. I guess what I'll do is I'll just jump into the newsletters here real quick. I'm going by memory. Ethanol, nah. RBOB, nah. Crude oil, well, we're familiar with it. It's bullish. I can go ahead and open this up. Yeah, we're still creeping up. This is a still continued grind up, which should help the Canadian dollar. We've got little levels in here, but holding above 62.10, looking for 68.49 over the next 2 to 3 weeks, and over the next 2 to 3 months or sooner, this 74.34 area, all true above 62.10. I know we're not in this right now. I can only say that I'm glad we're out of the put position. So there's crude, Maycorn. I'd like, it's hard to describe. When you got macros embedded in these things, you're supposed to open it a particular way. You have to do a right-click open. Anyway, okay, so 365 and 3/4. This and a corn settlement above its respective resistance would be a good buy. I would be more comfortable buying the corn, I think, with a settlement above 365 and 3/4. I'm not crazy about selling it up here, and I'll tell you why. Because this 347.5 long-term support, it is so enormous that it's already, I think, impacting this market. And that's that long-term channel structure that goes back against these highs. I mean, this is just picture perfect, and it's been holding. So holding above 47.5, this market can get up in the upper 390s over the next several months. And so a settlement above 365 and 3/4 is our first sign of that possibility. And so I'd like to go long corn with a settlement above 365 and 3/4. And let's take a look at soybeans while I'm talking about it. It's kind of the same situation, the same structure, 906 and 3/4. And the 940s wouldn't be much of a stretch. If we settled above 906 and 3/4, May beans, you've got a convergence of two different channel structures here at 940 even all week, and that would be our 2 to 3 week target. Until then, this market can continue easing back, rotating south into this wide 20-cent range between 57.5 and 76.5. And let's take a look at nothing with bean meal. I did corn, soybean meal we're not really into. I'll take a look at it anyway. This is another situation. We have a trend line that held several weeks ago at 314 even. And so closing above 314 even, this looks pretty good. I'm not really big on trend lines, but when they've held once, like as this one did, almost to the very tick, then closing above 314 even is probably also going to involve the buy signal above the soybeans as well. And so I think we would pick one or the other the next several weeks, expected to yield bullish continuation. In this case, it would be into the mid 320s where we find long-term resistance for bean meal. So we've got bean meal, beans, and corn all sort of setting up. That's a strong word, not setting up. We're watching it closely because they're trading not far off from breakout resistance. Breakout in the sense it would be a 2 to 3 week buy signal. Here's wheat. Yeah, I can show you this actually. This is pretty straightforward formation. It's just, it's just this thing. That's all that is. 451 and 3/4. If we settle below it, expect a test, a retest rather, of 451 and 3/4. Expect 431.5 within a week or two, which is this long-term support area. Until then, having tested 431.5 long-term support, this market is still in reach of the low $5 area in the coming weeks. We've got all kinds of stuff here in the 470s, 490s, but I like that weekly chart. I'm always, it's a mixed bag. If we settle above 493 and 3/4, that in itself is a buy signal for the May contract, but the May contract is off the boards before we know it. And so, 507.5 I think is the more realistic resistance area for this contract. And that's that. Let's take a look at, I think that covers the pre-existing, I covered the live cattle spread. Lean hogs are not really worth wasting time over. I just know we're not, and you can take a look at that newsletter. It's just too volatile right now. Feeder cattle, I'll give you a quick reminder here. Now this, you've got this pullback low at 148.47, which is just above the 147.75, long-term speed line, which you can see right here. So 147.75 is still sort of the floor right now, above which I would like to see a settlement Friday, tomorrow, above 151.42. That's just simple bar chart dynamics on the weekly. If we can close above the high of the recent low, 151.42, this market looks good next week. And there's really nothing much to say with regard to the daily chart. You've got little things, but really this is kind of what we're looking for, the mid 150s again over the coming weeks. This is just, this looks actually weak. We could come back tomorrow and continue this consolidation. Right now, I do think it's going to be similar. I got 151.35, and that climbs to 47 on Friday. This is the formation to settle above, to push us higher into next week. Take a look at, well, we can look at June. This gets all crazy here, but I'll just show you very simply what I'm looking at for the next. So the market makes a high, comes down, makes a low, intermediate high, yesterday's low. So for me, closing above this very short-term channel top, I think is pretty good. I think then we continue higher. And that's at 121.02 on Friday. I'm sorry, Thursday. Until then, the market could slip back. Let's go ahead and take a look at the newsletter itself. I'm sorry here. Actually, I'm going to have to open up because I'm already doing forecasting. I'm on my road trip tomorrow. So I've already done forecasting. Those are Friday's numbers, so I'm going to have to open up the PDF files. Okay, here we have it. So 121.02 intraday containment levels. 119.05 is the speed line that actually held a week or so ago. 117.97 the most meaningful. So holding below that 121.02 formation, that really short-term channel top I just showed you, does allow the 117.97 over the next several days. And as you're well aware, it can contain selling through into expiration. It's also a downside pivot point into May trade. Holding above 117.97, this market remains constructive, and we should continue higher. I'm guessing beyond the recent highs a few weeks ago as we continue into May and June. And let's talk, I know we're not in that position anymore, but we can actually look at live cattle August. And similar structure here, 118.27 is the same short-term channel top I showed you in June. If a settlement above, it indicates 121.07 probably by the end of next week. Until then, the market could slip back to 114.85, which is, I'm just repeating myself with regard to the June contract, the structure able to contain selling through spring. And that actually does it for the newsletters. So what I'm going to do now is take a look at, I'm going to scroll down. We've got, I already showed you the Canadian dollar. Take a quick look at the euro currency. It's trading up, but still in the middle of this area. Nothing to do really. And let's go on to the Japanese yen just for entertainment's sake. Nothing going. Take a look at the British pound. Still in this 6-7 weeks of consolidation. US dollar easing back still, but nothing significant. This is our big support area here, upper 94, low 95 handle, and above which, you know, I think this is in reach, the upper 99 handle over the next few months or sooner. 97.83 being the 5/8 Fibonacci pullback that if we settled above on a weekly basis should actually yield this upper area within a matter of 3 to 5 weeks. Gold. Look at that, it's actually testing. So we have a trend line and a channel top. This former channel structure at 1-2 is 1316.5. Now we could get through here and then top out here. So as far as gold goes, I have no problem buying a settlement above this formation at 29.1. Because I think following that, this is quite likely. 1382.83, so you know, you've got a $50 rally there. Okay, so this is the start of a range of resistance up to 1329.1. I do think on the next attempt of the 1280 support, it will cave in. This is a triple bottom, which is not all that common. Quadruple, I don't know. Anyway, so as far as gold is concerned, it's kind of like corn. I don't know why. It's like I should just flip the chart, you know, because you can sell this area, but I would rather buy a settlement above it as a buy signal. Silver creeping higher after testing support last week. No surprise, really. Imagine copper is going to be similar. It's just hanging in there, but here's our big support. If we settle below it, it tips south. In fact, if we settle below this on a weekly basis, that settlement was 84.25, 84.14 below this channel bottom. If we settled below this, I think buying puts would be a great way to go. Until then, being long this market is the proper way to go. Platinum, let's take a look at the 10-year. Yeah. Okay, still that low of 13 for the week. 0608 is our support through April and into May, above which we're bullish. NASDAQ trading higher, new high, trading at new highs. This area is holding, and this remains the target in the 8100 area. Sugar. Creep a little higher, close above 1311, looks good. Cocoa. Backing off a bit from the highs a few days ago, but still looks good above this 2339. Still expecting this channel top at 2517 over the next week or two now. Get into coffee, cotton actually. Here's the cotton sell signal. We came up into that 79 handle, upper 79, low 80, remember, as resistance. So this is our area to settle below on a weekly basis. It's not going to happen between now and tomorrow. And here is our key resistance. So we either sell an approach into this region or a settlement below here. And let's get into the spreads. At least the DEES. Okay, this one's holding, as I mentioned before. I don't know if we're interested in the DEES. We've been talking DEES March. Wait, no, we were talking July. Sorry. July DEES. Okay, there's our buy. So we came off of this formation nicely down here. I think this spread could be bought now. I know we're taking a bit of a risk. Worst case, we buy it above 17.5. So, you know, there's that. How many do we buy if we do? You know, let me open this chart up a little bit and see where everything comes in. So we have this channel at 20.6 and this big base at 21.2. So so that's the support area. And you know, if you're just looking at this like what a regular bar chart for any market, we haven't got a double bottom and we settled above that high. So that looks good. And this is after testing this long-term formation. So I think it's a good area to buy if we want to get involved in the corn spread. We're at the very early stages, and you know, we could take some heat to the downside. We could do one or two, and then, you know, maybe do one or two now, and buy above 17.5, because ultimately we could get back to the top here. This -8. So that's about what, a 13-cent move overall, potentially. So this is negative 21.2, and then above 17.5. I'll make mental note of that. I'm going to be in the car tomorrow. I'm probably just going to call you at around 8, if that's okay. And if you want to gab about any of this stuff, I'll have it locked in my memory for the most part, but I won't be able to do any screen sharing, of course. Let's take a look at wheat. All right, there's the May, July. So it's holding this formation. And that tomorrow is at -4.6. Settlement below, it's about a 6-cent move. I can see why the guys put hundreds of these on at once, because your targets are sometimes 5 and 6 cents. Okay, so this, where are you? God damn it. All right, -10.1. So that's the May, July. There's got to be July decent here. There it is. Looks different. It's so different, actually. You know, you've got May, July is holding support. No reason to sell it. Where July DEES looks like it should be sold. 23.4, or should, you know, could have been sold a couple of days ago. But once again, we're looking for about a 6-cent break. 29.2. Okay. There's all kinds of support down here, and I do believe it's a likely target. You got a descending channel bottom and a horizontal channel structure, all in this upper 20s. Beans. Now I am going to break these down into their own files instead of just moving these windows around and trying to find. I'll have July Nove beans, and then so forth and so on. Probably 3 different files for each spread. This market's moving higher. Negative 15.7 is the ceiling. If we're looking, into May, it's also our breakout. You actually get a bit of a buy signal above this low area here around 18 even. That's what that line is. I don't know why I put 18.2, but I'm going to go 18 even on that line. So closing above 18 even on the July Nove bean spread does indicate this. This is a daily, so within a few days, negative 15.7. There will be some buying this spread just based on a settlement above 18 even, obviously. But in my book, the next breakout is above 15.7, and that would be a good spread to go long in. I'd even be willing to do a little bit at 18 even. And here's the sell signal. I'm going to eliminate this channel structure because it doesn't really exist anymore. So here is the sell signal, negative 22 even. Still July Nove. Live cattle spreads. Look at this. Coming back, this is the OCDs. A bit of a buy signal here above negative 3.55, but really this area here, 375, sorry, to 3, okay. It's about a dime now. This is the big area that if settled above, this thing looks, like that it's at least put a low in. Whether you get all excited about buying it is a completely different, question. Yeah, because it's negative 2.5, negative 3. You've got, what, 3/4 of a point. I don't know if that's worth it or not. I suppose if you did enough. I'm just going to put 2.5 in here roughly. And here we've got AUG-OC. And that is still 122.5. And this I mentioned is still, 182. So this area can hold. Here's our resistance. There's no correspondence there. All right. And then, of course, the spread we're in that I actually already covered earlier. This number's wrong. It's now 525. What else we got? Hog spread. I like this here. This is daily. 6.7 to 6.8. That's a good support region. I don't know if we want to get involved in the hogs or not. Here we've got the same 310. This, by the way, again, is June AUG. There's our support. We settled above it sometime, and within days we got to the target, which under most circumstances would be weeks. We got there in 3 days. So we have a channel top holding right now, and it could continue to hold. So you've got about a 2-point rally here potentially off of this area. If we break it, this is the next stop, and this is more primary support. I like it because it's all part of this consolidation. You've got the high of the low is right in here, 3.7, 3.65. This is our base. If we break that, look out. Going to head down into here where this channel structure, the descending channel structure would be. So I'm going to go just take a real quick look at these spreads again. I like the July Dees corn spread. 21.2 base, 17.5 resistance. Take a look at wheat. July Dees, I like being short it. Down into here. We've got 6, well, at this point in time. We're waiting for a rally here. Right now, it's just, we're already almost a third of the way down there. And then the beans. Yeah, beans, I like them above 18. And especially so above 15.7. And the sell signal is below 22. So that about covers it. 26.5 minutes. That's all I'm going to say. I'll call you tomorrow on my way down there if we want to go over the Canadian or we want to talk about the spread, so forth and so on. Markets will be open by then. And if you want to cover any of the spreads in terms of the grains I mentioned, we could talk about that. As far as anything to do, right now I'm sort of queued up for a buy signal in May corn above 365 and 3/4 and above the soybeans 906 and 3/4. 906 and 3/4. So I imagine something may happen over the next few days. Anyway, that's all I got to say. And this is Thursday's video, and we'll talk tomorrow.